I'm Craig Beaumont Flynn. Welcome to Beyond the Design, a show that gives you a peek behind the curtain of the design industry and shares the stories of those that are the driving force behind it. Well, welcome today to Beyond the Design. I'm your host, Craig Beaumont Flynn, and today we have with us Fernanda Ralston. How are you?
Oh, hi, Craig. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Well, it's a pleasure for us to have you on the show. I have a whole bunch of questions for you, but I'm just going to ask you, just tell us a little bit about your story and your journey with I Am Creation and the movement that you actually started in Brazil.
All right. Well, that's a big conversation.
That's a big start.
We go big or go home, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Well, yeah, my story really started with the fashion world. I worked with Versace. Before that, I started, I was studying set design. That was my passion. I went to drama school. I was doing set design. And that's when I started working with the fashion world. And that Versace for many years, and Euro Fashion TV during the catwalk shows, and, all the beauty and the playfulness with light and design. And now it's so much fun. So when I went back to Brazil after about 9 years of doing that, it was very clear to me that the luxury of our time had changed, especially after, traveling through the Norwegian countries, right, and understanding that true elegance was somewhere else. It was not anchored in brands anymore. And after you had the Chanel bag and you had the Italian marble and the fast cars, people were asking different questions in the world of luxury. And many of the brands, the big names in fashion, they were already designing for the emerging markets, for money-making purposes.
Good.
They were not catering the more elegant crowd anymore. And this crowd was unattended. So when I went back to Brazil, I started to ask all these questions. And then I realized at that time, and now we're talking a little over 15 years ago, that, the luxury of our time was in having access to moments, experiences, right, that could translate something new in your life. For example, I remember my first website was a lot of like noise and fun ringing and, horns, and someone would go like, shh, and then it would come, silence is the luxury of our time. But that was 16 years ago, right? And I'm in a city like São Paulo. I'm between São Paulo and New York. And I realized that having access to silence was a new luxury. So, I started the movement, created five pillars that stood for what was and trying to answer this question, what was the new luxury? And I started, speaking about it and kind of certifying products and services in Brazil and Europe that would fall under the umbrella, the post-luxury umbrella. And then from there, it became also clear to me that I needed to showcase the movement in a more tangible way. So that's when I decided to create a hotel. The name was Botanic Hotel and Spa. And the whole, 6 years building the hotel, but I wanted the whole experience of the hotel was, under, again, the umbrella of the post-luxury. So from the design, from the service, the artwork in the walls, the gastronomy, the spa treatments, everything had to, work within the pillars of the movement. So it was a turning point in my life to be able to showcase that this new luxury, this movement, it was actually so horizontal and could work on the design of everything, right?
So what are the 5 pillars of luxury, and has that changed given that started 16 years ago? Has the emphasis, or I guess the focus on those 5 pillars kind of morphed because of time and people's gravitation to luxury and what their idea of it is?
Yes, that's a great question. It was actually very ahead of its time. And I remember when I launched it, people were like, okay, All right, honey. What are you talking about? Right? Well, what's going on? We're trying to redefine luxury now. So it took a while for people to understand. It was the beginning of the whole farm to table concept.
Mm,
And people were going organic, and designers were talking about sustainable products and stuff like that, especially outside California, right?
right.
So I mean, when you live in California, it seems the whole world is speaking this language, but they're
It,
not.
you're
They're
in your own little bubble.
exactly. So, so yeah, it took a while for to like kind of educate people on this new way of looking at the luxury world. But once it took off, it was instantaneous, right? It
Mm,
became like a reference very quickly on people that were searching for a new way to look at luxury, and of course, design permeated it. The whole story of the movement. So the five pillars are, quality, of course, right? So the choice of materials, but not only just because they're good quality, but because they are research based, right? So
gotcha.
quality on material ingredients, they are based on deep research. So
Mhm.
that's one. Timelessness, of course, right? So again, no concession to fads. Something that a product or service that you could even pass on to generation.
The
So
test of time.
yeah, the test of time. And then for me, the third one, which is the one that I like the most, which is originality, right? So people, there was a huge tendency of people doing versions of something someone
Right.
had already done, right?
Yeah.
It's like a pretty copy of something. So
Mhm.
it had to be like a product or a service that was telling its own story, right? Influences, of course, there's all these wonderful,
Sure.
in all time designers that influence so many of us, but you have to be able to do the shift and tell your own story. So uniqueness, originality is the third pillar. The fourth is high purpose. So again, a piece that can elevate its surroundings.
Mhm.
Right? It is, once he arrives, it kind of makes everything better. It tells a beautiful
Right.
story that has a high purpose to it. And then fair value, right? Cohesive markup. So we're talking about good quality, research, timelessness. So the core of the product is already extremely expensive, and you're
Mhm.
gonna, a cohesive markup is still gonna be you're gonna make a lot of money because it's already a very expensive
Right.
product. But you're going to be treating your clients with respect and elegance, right?
Right.
So that was actually all very interesting, because I remember when I was building the hotel, I was traveling so much and going to all these boutique design hotels, and I was paying like thousands of dollars on a rate, on a daily rate, and fine, that was
Mhm.
that was what I was doing. I was living, I was walking the talk, right? I was like looking for these places that would promote an original experience, but then I would walk into my suite and they will try to charge me $25 a bottle of water. And I'm like, it's not about the $25. It's about treating with elegance,
Right.
someone that it's purchasing a piece. And so that's what I meant with fair value.
Understandable. Well, you're located in Southern California where you established I Am Creation. Tell us a little bit more about this concept and what I Am Creation is all about.
Okay, so I Am Creation, it's the evolution of the post-luxury movement, right? Um, the core of the movement has always been to truly understand and redefine luxury, right? Through the lens of design, because that's where I come from and that's my whole background. So um, when I came here, right, I sold the hotel 2 years ago. I'm still consulting with them. It's doing extremely well. I decided I had closed that. I needed to close that cycle, and there
Mhm.
was more to it, and I needed to explore. So once I got here, I was always a very avid reader. One of the big uh, things about the hotel. You know, it was showcased in one of the most exclusive libraries in Brazil. So we had many pieces from all over the world translated to Portuguese in different languages. So I curated the library very carefully. So I was always a knowledge aficionada kind of thing. So I understood that there was an evolution of the movement and there was a new pillar, right? That the luxury of our time was a way for you to have access to knowledge that would be delivered to you in a beautiful format. And when I got here and I got involved with universities, and I was reading, I was going to workshops, I was trying to reinvent myself too, I realized that most of these modern sages of our time, right, these beautiful research teams and labs all over California, no one really was reading the 500-page book or doing the course. It was just following between the horses, this whole knowledge, right? This beautiful work. And I saw an opportunity to be the bridge who would deliver this content in a way that would impact people's lives and still would be a beautiful piece that they could, have in their home. Right. So that was the whole idea of I Am Creation. Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit more about I Am Creation's home rituals and how they contribute to enhancing daily living experiences within interior spaces.
Okay, well, the home rituals, they came after after the master classes, right? Mm-hmm. Which are now calling master classes because I understand the American market likes it more. Which was one of those things when I realized that I wanted to do those art films, right? Because it started as art films, was like, okay, I'm going to interview this incredible person that has all this knowledge and body of work. And I would tell them, I said, okay, listen, this 500-page book, I'm giving you 15 minutes. I'm recording you, and it's 15 minutes. And you're giving me the most potent message you can give to the world. So I would record this knowledge, and I would try to translate it into an art film. So you get the piece, you get the art, because through the art of film, you can enhance the senses through sounds, texture, and then you get the person paying attention to the message, right? So they can use that message to elevate their life. So that was, the collection, the language of home collection. That's the first, body of products of I Am Creation. And it's based on holistic design, and now that it's completely science-based, that we have epigenetics, neuroplasticity explaining to us that there is this communication between your inner home and your outer home, and the way you organize design and how that speaks to your well-being. It's not feng shui anymore or something, mystical.
Right.
Been proven, and this exchange of energy and balance in the home, in the office, whatever you try to design your space, it's extremely important for your success. So I started with the art films, and that's where my heart lives, and I continue producing new translations of knowledge into art. And then, because this first collection was a home ritual, home language collection, home rituals became kind of like, okay, that's going to be, again, this is the art, and that this is the tangible that I can deliver into people's homes, so they can use the knowledge they learn through the art in a more, physical form. So there are 5 home rituals for each area of your home, where you get beautiful design pieces and elements that you're going to set in that space, with, of course, instructions, so you can set your intentions and how you're going to organize that area of your home.
So given that you're from Brazil, how have you incorporated various elements that are indicative of Brazil to the California laid-back lifestyle, since it's very, very different spectrums? And how is that holistic approach built into the master class?
Okay. I am from Brazil, but I am from São Paulo, and I spend most of my life between, England and New York. So I'm a big city girl, which is so interesting because I felt like I was standing to my crowd, which
Mhm.
is, business entrepreneur, business women, very busy people. They're like, oh my God, I would love to go on a retreat or do something holistic, but I have no time.
Right.
Right. It's too woo-woo for me. I think it's interesting, but it's not really for me. So my intention was like how I know that these women and these people, this fact that they appreciate art and
Mhm.
appreciate knowledge. So my idea was, okay, this is a way for me to deliver something that it's a little bit more spiritualized, but in a form that will make sense to them. Because
Mhm.
nowadays you don't need to be spiritualized to understand that it is about
Sure.
energy. It is
Mm.
about the way you set your intentions and your life and your mindset. And there are so many potent tools that can help you, achieve your goals. So I did incorporate the whole. I always loved rituals, so I was never extremely spiritualized, but I recognized that in my the work life, I always followed my gut and my instincts very much. And it was kind of an alignment to say, okay, what am I feeling here? Right? What am I
Right.
reading between the lines? What is it that I want? What is it that I want from this business meeting, from this relationship, right? From this uh, purchase. So there was always a question, very business oriented, but in complete alignment to my source. So I always, did many rituals of like, writing what I wanted and kind of organizing myself so I could have mental real estate to make my own decisions. So the home rituals are just a beautiful way of you doing that, in your home and speaking to your goals and desires for work, your work life, for your family life, social life, relationships, and all that.
What do you think is one of the most key components and has the greatest impact uh, for a home ritual that someone should incorporate on a daily basis?
Uh, in my opinion, I mean the morning and evening, right? That's when you're opening and closing your
Correct.
day. Yeah?
Right.
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 So if you can organize yourself to like step out of bed and do something with an intention, or make sure that before you go to bed, when you wake up in the morning from your dreams and you're gonna leave whatever your subconscious mind was talking to you before, right? In an organized manner. That for me, that's what I do. That it's most important, right? So
Mhm.
I wake up. I need a minute, to kind of do a little quick meditation, light up a candle, understand what I'm going to do with my day. And there's tons of little things that I give away on the rituals and the master classes that you can do that can enhance the practice. But it's about creating a habit that it's yours, right? And it's your
Mhm.
own. For me, playing with design, playing with aspects of that. I mean, having in each area of my house a piece that reminds me of who I am and where I'm going, and having a connection with that piece and organizing and reorganizing the layout of my home in various ways, depending or on of what I want, has worked beautifully. So
It's fantastic. So, do you think there's personal spaces within your own interior space that you need to dedicate to yourself, even if you have family, you have a partner, so on and so forth?
Mhm.
Should there be something that's directed solely to you?
There is a woman cave. Yes, there's an anything. There is
Good term.
Yeah, but it's so interesting. After you dive into the knowledge, after you get the knowledge, and you start. It's one of those things, right? When you see, you cannot unsee. You start
Mhm.
looking at your home or any space that you walk into, that matter, in a very different way. And it's incredible in the space of your home. The incredible thing is that once you understand uh, holistic design and the knowledge behind the philosophy behind it, you look at your house and your house is communicating back to you. you start speaking to, you're like, oh my God, I didn't realize, this painting, this piece, the way why did I do that? And then
Right.
you start looking at yourself, and it's a mirror of your life that is just there showing yourself to you. This is it. I mean, this is the way that this is the layout of your life, of your mind. And then with the knowledge and the philosophy behind it, you start, okay, but this is not what I want moving forward. And then it's extremely powerful, right? So in my space, of course, once I learned the knowledge and I looked at it, I was like, okay, this is it. This is it. I'm throwing this out. I'm decluttering. I'm changing it. I'm redesigning it. So the design of it can speak to the Fernanda that I'm moving towards, right? So
right.
That I want to become.
A lot of people now gravitate to the it factor or the trends, and as you mentioned, one of the 5 pillars is timelessness, and incorporating that element. How do people distract themselves from being pulled in, from TikTok and Pinterest and TV shows? It's like, this is the it factor. This is what you have to do, and really self-reflect what speaks to them.
Yeah. And I think one of the pillars, it's actually what saved me from it, quality, right? Because whatever you receive, the first question is that what is the research behind it, right? I mean, what is the message, the quality of the message behind this? Who's giving the message? So, all those questions that you on quality that you start to make. The same thing with fashion or with anything, right? Anything that you're interested in, and then it becomes TikTok, Instagram. They start feeding you these things that, again, are not original. They're a version of something. They're just a copy of something.
Correct.
And you keep repeating yourself and keeping you in the same loop and stagnated in your life, not being able to, try to find something new. So I never had a personal Instagram. So I always had for my business. So this is something I always tried to keep myself away from. I don't know. I'm still doing it. Never say never. But yeah, I see as a problem with my kids and with friends also, because once you're in the cold, then they can never find new information.
Right.
And it's sad in a way.
So on your journey from boutique hotel owner to now with I Am Creation and the masterclass and elements of your life, what continues to motivate, inspire you?
I see myself and my happy place in life as a facilitator, a translator of beauty. And even in the hotel, I had about 7 experts in each area that I would suck the knowledge and try to, okay, this is what I'm going to do, right? So I would have the president of the Brazilian Museum of Art. She was an academic, a writer, and she was like, Fernanda, I'm not an interior designer. I'm like, I know you're not, but you're going to give me, the 50 names of incredible quality new Brazilian designers that I can showcase. I don't want to fall in the always the same name, right? I don't want to be playing the girl from Ipanema and the music. I want, the core, original bossa nova. So I had a critic for music, and I spent years with these people, and then getting this knowledge and how am I going to now present it to the world. And what I'm doing now is exactly the same, right? So now it's with holistic design, because everything that talks about design, it touches my heart. But I am already talking to so many others. There's the design lab at UCSD that is making this beautiful study on the work of Don Norman, which wrote one of the Bibles of design, which is the design of everyday things, right? And there he already explains, everything that we have and how it becomes an extension of ourselves. And that is, what is the truth in design, which is beautiful. So that's work that I know people don't know of. They look at design of something that is just, the functionality and the beauty, but the extension of oneself, it's a completely different approach. So there's, so many photographers, and I am my whole life, at least the past 20 years, one of my biggest artists, someone that I try to follow and try to think that if I was Robert Irwin, how would I think? So Robert Irwin, in my opinion, was, the biggest. I know he is considered one of, but for me, he's
Right.
the biggest installation artists of our time, right? And I think he changed the world of art when he made his viewers be participants of the art piece, right? So he was doing all this land art, So now the viewers were active participants in their experience with art. So that changed the art world, right? It was now
Absolutely.
art was abstract. It disappeared. It was full of lights and shadows, right? So it's an active translation. So I think through the art films, which I'm going to, keep doing new collections, I hope, to get people to have an active experience with the knowledge they're receiving in my own little way, through I Am Creation, have a gallery of this knowledge through art films and design, and hopefully see how people are going to interact and make the best of it.
So when you started the opulence movement and the transition that it's taken through the last 15 years, how has that changed your life, and how has it been received, and how have you seen it change other people's lives, both on their personal journey, but also in the design and interior spaces that they live in?
It was a very happy path. I can't complain. Now, people say, so what were the struggles? And I think when you're doing what you love, of course, and in my case, it's working with beauty, right, and knowledge. I mean, there were not that many struggles. I think I felt like I tried to keep true to my vision, and that was a struggle because people have an opinion, right?
Everyone's got something to say.
The two cents, the two
Yeah.
cents. So that was hard for me because I like to absorb everyone's opinion. But I believe that what I did starting 15 years ago, and is still very much happening in Brazil and Europe, and I think some places in the United States too are more aware of this new luxury. They're calling it different names now. It's like silent luxury, quiet luxury, right? And I did so many speeches, and I spoke in a lot of like design shops when the whole, silent and quiet started. I'm like, what are the differences between post luxury and now the silent luxury, for example? But I believe it did make a shift on how people perceive luxury, perceive design, perceive fashion. I believe also that the new generation, they came so much more prepared to make questions than my generation, because they were already attuned to the whole being organic and the high purpose pillar and the fair value. So there was a shift with the new generation also. So I think it was, I mean, it doesn't invalidate, right? So the traditional luxury is there. Post luxury is not trying to be Uber or, better. It's just a different way of looking at the world. And I think everyone should play with the brands for a little bit, but it gets tired after a while.
So, are there any specific challenges you face in bridging the gap between the avant-garde design solutions and more intimate experiences of luxury in the home?
Yeah, I think the challenge, the difficulty is always trying to take, brands and money from the center of the conversation. I think that's the challenge. So when I go to certify a brand, a product, and they want to become post luxury, they want to have the seal, they want to stand for the pillars, it's always about, okay, how do we take this item out? How do you not become your brand anymore for a minute, so all the pillars can arise? So your mind is on the quality, on being original, on being fair, on elevating people's lives. So I think it's always a challenge to make people take the risk, right? And I'm like, it's going to pay off. The post luxury, the après luxe, it's many times much more expensive than traditional luxury or design, but you need to make the leap of faith. You have to be willing to undress your concerns with the brand.
Correct. Given that lifestyles are very different from the U.S. to Europe to South America and other places in the world, are we collectively coming more together in the identification of luxury and internal design experiences within your home? Or is it still very separate and segregated to cultural and location?
That's an awesome question.
That's just the top of my head.
That was my good question. Because actually, it was a shock for me. Okay, I went to university in England. A lot of my clients were there. As you know, Portuguese speaks a lot with French. Mm-hmm. So there's all these influences. So again, right, when I launched Now I Am Creation just a few months ago, a lot of my American friends were like, okay, Brazilians and Europeans pay for art. Americans, they pay for classes, coaching. Mm-hmm. Courses. So it's a different language. You need to shift so you can, get your message across. So there was a gap between, the two worlds. Very, very important. Even when I go to museums here, there's a lot about American art, right? And very little about, but what I feel now, and I am an optimist, when I look at the world of design, for one, is that it's merging. It's finally merging, the European view with the South American. I can talk about Brazil. I don't have that much connection with our neighbors. I think the language barrier and cultural barrier is a thing between Brazil and the rest of South America. But I was looking at the work of what is his name from our hero, Thomas O'Brien. And he's a wonderful, one of the great designers, interior designers of today's, right?
Right.
Current moment. And it's obvious the influence that he had, that Jean-Michel Franck, that it's like this incredible French, Parisian interior designer, wrote so many wonderful books, changed the world of interior design in the 30s. Right. And it's what Thomas O'Brien is doing is, not a version of, but he's shifting but it's a clear influence from the Paris of the 30s. Right. Mm-hmm. So it's this understated opulence, right, which I think it's so awesome. So I was very surprised to see not only in this case, but so many other cases where great names of the design world, European design world, are being translated in a very potent original form in the American culture. So I think at least, design, it's being a bridge. So it's all coming together.
Coming together in a fashion that I think people can gravitate to and understand. Like you said, it's given them that knowledge and also understanding, so it's not so foreign to them.
Exactly. So all these books, for example, and I understand. If you're not someone that is passionate about all the books, for example, I am. But I feel like so many people, if you deliver this knowledge in a different way, they can transform the way they work. Even their creative genius will be affected, right? And there's beautiful work from African designers and the Arab world, not to mention. So there must be a way, and that's I'm thinking big here. That's I Am Creation for me. It's my way to create this bridge, so I can bring this knowledge, so people can do whatever they want with it, right? Do the shift, be original about it. But it is a bridge, so we can all talk the same language through design, art, and beauty, right?
What advice would you give to others who are looking to innovate and redefine traditional concepts of luxury in their own lives?
Oh, it's about elevating your life experience, right? There's
Hmm.
nothing more elegant than someone that has risen to its full potential. So it's about knowing what you want. It's about researching ways that you can be a better version of yourself. And once you're there, and it's not like a life journey, right? It's a
Right.
constant choice that you make.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, that it's going to affect your business. Um, your work, your relationships. It's going to open doors. It does bring abundance. It does bring, results. So it is about trying to be elegant within yourself. And that's going to reflect into the world, in your purchases, in the places you go, right? But it is clear that the luxury of our time is about being having moments, experiences, and even buying products and services that can elevate your life experience.
So, since you started I Am Creation, what are the next steps where you want to take it to facilitate the needs and wants or desires of those out there?
No, it's about, but I see myself. It's funny. It's only been 3 months, right? So since
Hmm.
I launched the business, and already my clientele, it's people from New York, people that are in big cities that are looking for, like, okay, they have the need for something that it's fast, and that can, quick results, because time is one of the luxuries of
Yeah.
our time also, right? So people need something delivered that it results and it's quick. So what I envision is being able to do this beautiful gallery of knowledge, like I said, and translate not only for interior design and architecture, but also through all forms of design of life. So yeah, that's the goal. The goal is to have a lot of art pieces out there, but they're all infused with knowledge.
So, when was it that this inspired you to go this direction? And I mean, your hotel was internationally acclaimed for its innovation of design, and it has some key elements that contribute to its success, which I'd like you to share with us. But what did you take away from that act, which inspired you to go on this next phase of your journey?
Yeah, the hotel, I feel again, it was such a quick success. It took me less than a year to break even and to start really getting awards. But it was because it had so much research behind
Hmm.
it, right? Even the scent of the hotel had its whole story. The gastronomy, like I told you, the service. So it
Hmm.
was a silent service, but it was a very efficient one, right? It's
Right.
not it's not in your face, but it's happening. So there was this whole book that I would present in many forms in the rooms where people could understand, from their senses, there's something different here. And then when they read about it, what was behind it, it was something
Right.
that stuck with them. And then they start looking out there when they're going to purchase something or have a new experience. That's the new standard of comparison, right? They're comparing with something with a higher standard. Uh,
Hmm.
so I believe, and that's how I came to I Am Creation. I believe that if you do whatever I do or anyone does that follows those 5 pillars, and it's not just one or the other, but they have to work the 5 of them at
Altogether.
the
All right.
time. I think it would surprise me if it's not a success, because we cannot underestimate our public. In the beginning, they don't know what is it that is intriguing them. They don't even know if they like it or not, because you're
Hmm.
taking them out of their comfort zone, but it doesn't leave them, right? And they start wanting to know more. So that is my advice, and that's the way I intend to follow I Am Creation or any other endeavor, because I decide to throw myself at it. Once an entrepreneur, always an entrepreneur, right? You
True.
walk around and see opportunities everywhere. I'm like, oh my God. I go to events and I'm like, oh, the light here should be this way. And I'm full of opinions. So who knows what else it's gonna come out of the new creations for I Am Creation.
So, being an entrepreneur, does your mind not stop of ideas and solutions and design and other elements you want to incorporate into I am creation, that you're thinking, okay, well, this is the next phase, or this is something else I want to bring to focus?
Yeah, yeah. Uh, I think again, there is so much beauty in what happened. Something
I don't know. You got fireworks behind you. That's a moment. That's a first.
never happened. It wasn't me. Anyway,
No, it was perfect timing. It was like, oh wow, you have ideas, and I see them come.
I thought you were
Fernanda has ideas, and it's fireworks. I gotta listen.
that was very auspicious. So anyway, not only in the world of design, right? Because like we were talking about, there is a communication between the art world and the design world, and poetry, and I mean, and music. It's everywhere, right? So I was talking with this friend of mine about this incredible poet, young crowd, northern England, of course, right? Liverpool and all those very inspiring places. There is a movement on poetry happening very strongly there, strong there. Like new poets are emerging, again, being influenced by Virginia Woolf's and so many others, but doing something completely original with the message. Who is reading those poems, right? So again, finding ways to bring this and to deliver this through art, through design, and that's what I want to be doing for the rest of my life. Really, it's just looking for this beautiful knowledge, and if it's in the design, it's on the. For me, it's luxury, right? Having access to things like that, having someone do the curation of items and beauty all around the world and saying, okay, here it is. This is my life's work. It's curating this for you, and I want to share this with you. It's what I see myself doing. Yeah.
So
that was the idea with the fireworks.
That's it. That's the idea, going outward and spreading. So looking ahead, what does I Am Creation look for you, and where do you want to take it 5 years, 10 years down the road?
It's also new. I'm kind of living, I am living right now. I think the beauty for me with the holistic design, with this new collection, was because I was never very mystical or new age or any of that. But now that I have science backing it up, it got my attention. So I did dedicate about 2.5 years, the past 2.5 years, on like just doing the curation of I Am Creation and what I thought deserved to be translated, because this is knowledge that if you use properly can change your life, right? So the whole science, what neuroscience and it's coming across, and energies in the body, and the heart coherence that I've been listening about here in California, and there's a lot of work to how do you translate something that it's not easy to translate into art, right?
Correct.
When you're talking about science. So it's again about bridging this making this connection, always bringing it back to art and design, because I know that this is what the luxury world likes. So that's my job, right? It's to grab something that it's completely out of the luxury world and transform it in a piece that makes sense to them, so they will pay attention. And me selling the hotel, of course the movement is still going on. I'm going to Brazil in a couple of days. That's why we had to do our interview today. I'm going to be launching I Am Creation there and the classes, so I'm going to be doing interviews there, where my platform is much bigger. Been doing this for a long time there. But, me selling the hotel and coming here, it was already like a midlife crisis. I'm like, okay, all right, this is it. As a good Brazilian, I like a soccer game. I'm like, okay, the first half, it's done. I scored many goals. Now let's focus, on the second half, and let's close the deal, close this game. I need to reinvent myself. I can't be doing more of the same and, telling the same story. I started young. So it was a complete, okay, I'm leaving, right? So I Am Creation is this. Who is this Fernanda? What is this creation that is coming, in the next 5-10 years?
So the translation and interpretation of taking it from the U.S. market to those that understand you and you have a better understanding of you as a person, how's that message change, or is it still the same, or is it geared more towards the understanding of luxury and the understanding of the 5 pillars, and also the understanding of, I guess, I Am Creation as a whole?
When I for the US market, it's a very different market, especially because now, even after being on the road for almost 20 years, I'm here, I'm starting again. It was about understanding, okay, I've been doing this long enough, so I know what I'm talking about. I have the credentials because, I know that works. So, who is this woman? Why is she talking about luxury? Now, she knows what is she's talking about. That has been her life. And now understanding that it is a very new concept still for the American crowd. There is still a lot of the traditional luxury very strong. And here, even the new generation they still want the brands. They still want the fast cars. So they look at the luxury very differently. Like here in California, most places in the US, right? There's a few pockets where people have run, the course of traditional luxury and are doing making new questions. Even for travel, right? I was talking to a friend of mine that had this incredible idea of doing voluntourism. Like, what is that, right? So that's for very, very rich people. And I was consulting with him, very rich people that want to go to Africa, for example, to a beautiful safari. They want to be and luxury, but they want to be taken out of the bubble and do community work for a couple of days. They want their children to work at ONG, that you say? What is it? A foundation of some sort, but help the community for a few hours every day. And then they go back, to the elephants and to the things, to the beauty. So, but there's a new way of looking at luxury too, right? How do you merge the two worlds? How can you get the elite to understand what's going on outside the bubble in a safe way? So I think the Americans, they like when things merge in that way, in a way that makes more sense to them. So
I think it resonates more with them because of the understanding, maybe so much not the division of, but more of the connection or the connectivity of it.
Yes, I like that. That's exactly it. Because if you try to understand, to explain to the American culture just through art, just through the cultural aspect, there is a lot that is lost, right?
True.
But when you can do a thread on something that they do understand, which is, what's happening in the world socially, financially, and the struggles, and who are these people, then you sparkle an interest. And I think that's why you guys appreciate classes so much more. It's a different way of understanding, of looking at the rest of the world. So yeah, again, it's being a bridge, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Fernanda, is there anything else you want to share with us and tell us about what you're doing and what's next for you?
No, I think we covered a lot of ground. We did good, and it has been. We did good. We did good. I hope I made myself well understood, and my accent wasn't very hard for people to understand, and I could give my message, and hopefully get people interested on the world of knowledge. Much more, especially through the design universe. So
what is the best way to someone listening to reach out to you or to find you and get more information?
I have the iamcreation.com website where, we have all the gallery, we have, the art films, we have the rituals, everything well explained. There's the social also. It's underline I am creation. And it's a new movement. And like I said, it is an evolution of the post-luxury movement. It's under the umbrella. It is, again, a way to try to redefine luxury and ask the question, what is the luxury of our time?
Which brings up my a question I just thought of. What would be the best way to tell someone that still doesn't understand and the explanation of the movement and what you're bringing forth? What is, I would guess, the elementary description
of the movement?
Mm-hmm.
It is a movement that helps you understand that there's different ways of looking at the world of design and luxury, that money and brands should not be the center of conversation when you're talking about sophistication and elegance. That's a good one. I know I have to think. So many things. I've been talking so much. I'm trying to come up with something extremely original. Let's see. But basically, it's realizing that being sophisticated minds and souls, right, are ready for a different approach. It's not about being snotty or above or validating the traditional world of luxury, but it's about giving options for people that that think differently of what the luxury should represent in their lives. Because for the longest time, right, you would have all these people that were extremely elegant, but you had no idea what they were doing or dressing, and they couldn't speak. They felt kind of threatened by the traditional world of luxury. And I think through art and design and the movement, we gave them a voice, to talk about the purpose, the quality, the originality, and all these facets of design and luxury. They are so interesting for so many.
It makes perfect sense. I think you just said it all. You wrapped up this whole conversation.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Craig. This is so fun, and you make us feel so comfortable. And,
good.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your time today. It's been a pure joy and pleasure to meet you, and I look forward to talking to you and hearing more from you in the future.
All right.
Thank you, Fernanda.
Ciao.
Thanks for tuning in to Beyond the Design. Subscribe for more inspiring conversations to our YouTube channel. Follow us on social media for updates and behind-the-scenes content. See you next time.
Hi, you're listening to a Pod for Good Media Network podcast. We are a network that provides podcasting production services and a supportive community in which podcasters can thrive. If you're a podcaster local in the Tulsa area, we would love to have your show on the network. If you are interested in starting one, we would love to help you get started. Find us online at podforgoodmedia.com and fill out our Pod With Us form. Happy podcasting.